Welcome back to the shop, and today we're working on this motor here. Now, for those of you who don't know, this motor came out of a Miller Trailblazer that I bought on Facebook Marketplace in 2019. I think it was June of 2019. And this is an Onan 20 horsepower gas engine. It's not a diesel engine that came on. They did come with diesel engines. I don't know if this was before the diesel engines or if they came and some of them came with gas and some came with diesel. I'm not exactly sure. But this is the 20 horsepower gas Onan engine. And there's a link in the description. There's a playlist on my channel where you can go watch them videos of me buying this off of Facebook Marketplace. So anyways, I didn't work on it for a while and I decided to drag it out because I really want to get that welder working. So I decided to drag it out and try to get this thing working. Now, in them videos, I got two pistons here. I got them set in the thing right now. So this was the piston that came with the motor, and then one of the cylinders didn't have a piston in it. It was completely gone. Someone had taken it out. I think the connecting rod had broke, and someone had just pulled the head and pulled the piston out, put the head back on, and basically I got a motor with one piston. So I was making a couple videos, and somebody, and I'll put their name in the description or put it up on the screen, was watching that video and had a piston, and it was the exact piston that I needed, same part number and everything, for one of these motors, and he sent it to me. So now we got two pistons, two connecting rods. The crank is still in here. I got to order rings. I'll be ordering rings here probably later today so I can put this thing back together. And then I got to order some other parts for the top end. We got an oil pan. I got to order a gasket set. And then we got to work on the valves here, reseat the valves and stuff like that. You know, your basic engine work. But what I want to concentrate on today is this crank. So I'm going to show you the crank here in a minute. Well, let's take a look at that right now. We got the engine upside down, and this is where the oil pan bolts on here. And what's going on is, I talked about this in another video about why I quit working on this Miller Trailblazer, and I really can't get the crank out of this motor. But anyways, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but right here on this crank here, it's rusted, and then right here across the bottom, it's also rusted. So basically, this engine was full of water, and the crank just laid in the water. There was a little bit of oil in there and not a whole lot of oil. So the one half of the crankshaft has rust on it. Not bad, but it is, if you can see my finger, if you rub it on the rust, you can see the rust starting to come off. So I'm going to try to get this rust off, and what my plan is I'm going to take a gasket and I'm going to bolt this pan back on, and I'm going to fill this whole motor as much as I can with apple cider vinegar. And that's supposed to take rust off. I'm just going to fill it full and let it sit for 24 hours or a couple days or something, and then come back and see how much rust that takes off. And then, of course, we'll have to clean the whole inside of the engine. But before we do all that, so what I've been doing is I got one of these cylinder, what's these things called? An engine cylinder hone. And basically I've been going inside here and just honing this cylinder walls out on both sides. And I got them pretty clean, but now what I got to do is clean them all out and then take this in one last time and get that nice cross hatch that we're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, get both of these, the cross hatch, what we're looking for, and then we can go ahead and fill this thing full of the apple cider vinegar, and hopefully that's going to remove the rust off of this crank, because that's the only thing that has rust on. Everything else in this engine is aluminum. So the only thing that's rusted is this crank. Everything else is out of it. So, before I was putting some, I was actually using PB Blaster because I was out of WD-40, but I usually use WD-40 to do this. And I was putting WD-40 in here, you know, for the lubrication. But whenever you're done, when you want to get that crosshatch, you just do it dry. So I cleaned off my hone and then I just went in and did it dry. And I'm going to check to see if I can find a flashlight, what this is looking like. Let me grab a flashlight. We'll take a look at it. So I'm going to go handheld here for a second. And we're going to see what this cross hatching looks like that we have achieved with that. So let's see if I can get a light inside here. And you can kind of see it there. I can see it really good. Let's see if we turn it. Well, see if I can get it closer. Well, it's not really showing up on camera. At least I can't see it showing up. But it's actually got a pretty decent, if I put the thing here, I can see it really good there. But the light's kind of killing the camera view. Go up on the sidewall maybe. You can see it. But it's definitely a nice 45-degree crosshatch. That's exactly what we're looking for. And it's looking really good. So I'm happy with that. So like I said, I tried to show on camera what that crosshatch looks like. And it really wasn't showing up. At least I couldn't see it on the camera. Maybe when I edit it, you'll be able to see it bigger when it gets on the bigger screen. But it really wasn't showing up. But I'm really happy with the crosshatch pattern that showed up in here. With the flashlight down inside the center here, and I can look in, you can see it really good. So it looks really, really good. So I'm happy with that. So now all we got to do is get that oil pan gasket and get that oil pan bolted on here, which I got to dig out of the cart sitting over there. We'll get that on there. I'm going to run down, grab another roll of rags because my rags are completely used up. We'll get some of those, pick up a jug or two of that apple cider vinegar, and we'll fill this thing up as much as we can. The only problem I'm going to see is these pistons here, the piston holes or whatever. My thought process was I just put the pistons in like this, but it's still going to leak around it. So I might take some rags and stuff in there. I don't know how much that's going to stop, because where the rust is on the crank, though, it's got to be filled up like almost halfway up the cylinder walls here, which means it's going to leak out. So, and I don't got any rings. If I had some rings on here, maybe that might work, but I don't even know if that would work. But that's what we're going to try to come up with. I made a little trip down to the Dollar General. And I went down to pick up some of this stuff here. This is some apple cider vinegar. And my plan was to get a small tote that I could put this engine in. Flip this thing over so this is on pointing down. And then go grab a couple bottles of this apple cider vinegar. And basically just fill up the tote like halfway filled so this crank was kind of submerged in the apple cider vinegar. So the first problem is, with this stuff being, with the apple cider vinegar being like $2.35 a bottle, the tote that I was wanting, there's no really small totes, so the tote that I would have to get was a lot bigger, a lot wider than this motor, and a lot deeper. So I'd have probably had to get like 6 or 8 bottles of this stuff here, and that's just too expensive just to pour into an engine just to try to see if it's going to clean rust off. So what I've been doing instead is I went and got a piece of, this is wet, dry sandpaper. It is 100 grit sandpaper, and I've been going in here and sanding off this crank. So this was all rust up through here. I don't know if you guys can see that. And up in here, and you can see on the sandpaper. So I've just been going in like this and just sanding the rust off. And it's going to take a while because, you know, like this whole side here is rusted the whole way up through here. This whole side, down inside there, and then down inside here between this wall and the front of this crank, which is going to be hard to get to. But there's a little bit of rust, you know, maybe right there. But if I can get them cleaned off just by using the sandpaper, then that's what we're going to do. And I think I can get most of it cleaned off. It's coming off pretty easy. It's still kind of wet, so it's actually cleaning up pretty nice. So that's what I'm going to continue to do, is work on this with the sandpaper. And hopefully when we get that done, we can go about getting some diesel fuel and actually clean the whole inside of this engine out so we can get ready to reassemble it. So I spent about 15-20 minutes with this piece of small sandpaper, and I'm actually surprised at how easy that this rust came off. It wasn't even on there that bad. So like I said, it's about 99% rust free right now, this crank is, and a little bit of elbow grease, and this thing cleaned up pretty stinking nice. So with that being said, the next thing we're going to do with this bad boy is, I got a bigger tote sitting over here, and what we're going to do is set this thing in a tote, and I'm going to go down to the gas station and get about 3 or 4 gallons, maybe 5 gallons, I don't know how many it's going to take, of diesel fuel. And diesel fuel around here is like $5+ an hour, or dollars an hour, dollars a gallon. So I'm going to have to bite the bullet on that. And we're going to drop this thing in, pour some diesel fuel in there, get the whole thing submerged. And we're going to let it set for about a week. I work out of town, so we'll put it in there probably Saturday or Sunday and leave it set till the following Friday. And hopefully what that's going to do is come through and completely clean this block up. And then if we come back and the block's clean and I'm satisfied with how clean it is, then the piston ring should be here and we'll be able to start assembling the bottom half of this engine. Getting the pistons put in, getting the oil pan put on, getting the camshaft put in, and then the bottom half will be done, and we'll flip it over, and then we'll just have like heads. Of course, the valves, you got to work on the valves and stuff. Clean them out, put the valves back in, the valve springs, all that upper end stuff, intake, carburetor. But that's a completely different video. That's going to do it for this video here. Not a very entertaining video, I guess, but nonetheless, we are working on this thing, and hopefully soon we're going to have a motor trailblazer sitting right over there out of view, running, and we'll be able to run some sticks, and hopefully I can get some MIG welding done with that thing. That's the plan anyways. So, and again, thanks for watching. Go into the comment section. Tell me what you thought. There's links in the description below. Check all that stuff out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.